And tell me about the library campaign. What was that? What did you do?
Yeah.
How'd that go?
So what that was, we were at the time the project was to get these 3 books, Dianetics, Clear Body, Clear Mind, and New Slant on Life, and send them to all the libraries in the country. So there was a sort of a collaboration worked out with Bridge, whereby, you know, there would be a special package which included, I figured out like the shipping costs, and I figured out the extra costs that would, you know, we had to print stuff up, we had to print a special letter, you know, a special logo was made, stuff like that. And, you know, so I got all that printed up, and they, you know, started selling the package, and it became pretty popular. They were selling a lot. And so what I would do is I would go down to the Bridge warehouse with the Bridge guys and physically pack those books up and send them out. And that was most of what I did. I did a lot of other stuff, you know, around there, but mostly I went down to the Bridge warehouse and got to listen to music and pack books. It was really fun. I liked it a lot.
I'm sure. Now, who were they selling these books to? The books were supposed to go to the library.
Yeah, they were selling the packages to public Scientologists, as you know, and the gimmick was getting all these books into libraries. And what happened was, after we started, you know, sending out a lot of them, they wanted to, you know, call and make sure they were being put into libraries. So I would call the libraries and make sure they got the package and that they were putting them on the shelves. And aside from less than half a dozen, I'm going to say, they weren't. They mostly just accepted Dianetics. They wanted that book because it was more popular. And the other ones they just put in their giveaway bin. That was pretty much what was happening. And that was just with the 3-book package.
Right.
And so I didn't do that for very long. And the pressure to call libraries kind of stopped, I think, because the news was just bad. It wasn't good. It was just, nobody wanted the books.
So you're calling around, you're telling your senior, hey, look, they're not.
Yeah,
I had the library.
And then I was told, well, get them to put the books in the on the shelves.
Right.
How do we do that? I mean, they're telling me we can't use these. We don't have room. How am I supposed to? First of all, I'm like 16 years old. I'm just cold calling libraries, and there's this expectation, completely unrealistic, to, you know, get them to put the books on the shelves. I'm like, I can't do that. That's just, no.
Were you successful at all? Did you convince anybody to put the books back up on the shelves?
No, not once. Not once. It was not. And again, like I said, I think that the pressure on that whole thing on calling libraries just died away completely. So.
Interesting.
Yeah. Yep.
Interesting. How long were you doing that?
I was probably there for about 8 months or so. And the other thing that happened of note while I was there was the Time magazine article, The Cult of Greed, Scientology, The Cult of Greed, came out.
Oh.
And that hit like a ton of bricks.
That's probably why the library campaign fizzled out.
Well, it wasn't really.
I mean, were they connected, or am I just connected?
No. It really, one had nothing to do with the other. It was just, it happened while I was there. And so our office just kind of went into an uproar of trying to fix this, and the idea had come up to have this whole big USA Today ad campaign, right? Mm-hmm. And what we did was we did the I'm a Scientologist ad campaign part. So we went around looking for Scientologists who had different professions, and every day we would get like a list of new professions, like I'll find a taxi driver, find a hairdresser, find a, you know, businessman, find a salesman, find this, find that. And so we would just have to go out and find these Scientologists who had these different professions. We had a professional photographer who was a Scientologist who came in and did all the photos, and, you know, we did all these photo shoots and got their stories. And I think it was actually a really good and successful ad campaign, to be honest. It was, because it showed that
it was Scientology's response with paid full page ads in USA Today that ran for weeks, if I remember right. It wasn't just 1 or 2 ads. They kept going.
Yeah, it was a series of them, and actually it was a series of different kinds of ads, because there were the anti-Time magazine ads, which, you know, supposedly exposed, you know, the psychs were behind it all, and talked about, there was a series of what is Scientology ads, and then there was the whole long series of I am a Scientologist, because those were actually the ones that got the most, I think, if I'm remembering correctly, those got the best response, which makes a lot of sense because it's showing Scientologists as real people, like your next door neighbor. It made it not like some weirdo that you've never seen.
Right, and this is back again in 1991 when Scientology had been exposed through this Time magazine article called "The Cult of Greed," but that was it. This is pre-internet. This is anonymous. Like nobody knows about OT3. That information was only available through if you went into court documents at this time, and in the Time magazine article they talked about the OT levels,
which everybody was told not to read.
Yeah, that's right, and no Scientologist could read this thing because of that. I remember sneaking glances at it and feeling like I was threatening my eternal soul. I was still staff in Santa Barbara at the time, but this was the first time that any broad exposure of Scientology was done at a magazine level like that, if I remember right. I don't recall an earlier time where a magazine of Time's stature and distribution had done something like this. Yeah. So it was a big blow to the church. And their blow back was to sue Time magazine, and they failed at it, but they cost Time magazine millions over the years, and to run this USA Today campaign. And they paid USA Today a lot of money to get these full-page ads in the front section of the paper. Yep,
a lot of money.
I did not know you worked on that.
Yeah, I did. I helped take some of the pictures. Yeah. Fun stuff. Yeah.
Okay, so after that campaign happened and the library campaign had fizzled, and I don't know, I do feel like those two things are kind of related because I think one follows the other, but
probably, yeah.
Certainly libraries were not probably super interested in Scientology. I mean, maybe they weren't interested before, but now they really weren't interested.
Yeah, that's true, and I think that the focus of attention had gone elsewhere. So the library campaign never ever stopped, but it would slow down a lot, and it, I believe it did slow down.
Mm-hmm. And that's also par for the course for the Sea Org, because they tend to go this project, this project, this project, this
emergency, this emergency, this emergency.
Exactly.
Yeah.
That's just the drill in the Sea Org. You just get used to it. You pendulum swing all over the place.
Yeah.
But I'll bet, and answer this if you know, did anyone who gave money to the library campaign get their money back because the books they donated for didn't end up on the shelves?
Oh, of course not. They would never even be told. That, as far as all the public are concerned, these books were going on the shelves. Yeah, absolutely. There was nobody was ever told they weren't, for sure. The other interesting thing that happened when I was there, and I don't know if you'll find this too interesting. It was during the first Iraq War, and there was a big Books to Troops campaign actually that was spearheaded by Sharon Runyon, who later won a Freedom Medal, right? She was there in our office at the time. And I was sending those out too. We sent, thousands and thousands and thousands of Dianetics books that were donated over to the troops. So that was kind of interesting little side project that they did. So
Did you ever get any feedback on how many of the troops actually accepted them, read them, did anything with them?
The only thing that happened was I got a box returned to me, and half the books were gone, but in the box there were little trinkets. There was it was almost like, hey, thanks for these, and here's something back, and that's the only thing I ever got. But
so out of how many books do you imagine you sent over there?
Specifically? Oh, over to
the troops.
I used to know this. It was a lot. It was, I think, in the order of thousands. Yeah.
Okay, so you send thousands of books over there.
Yeah.
Out of all of that work, the only return back was a half empty box of books returned.
Yeah.
With some trinkets.
Yeah.
And again, all those books that are being shipped over there are being paid for by public Scientologists. Is that right?
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah, this wasn't out of the kindness of the heart of the Church of Scientology paying for it.
Oh, no, not at all. It was all paid for, and they paid a markup price for shipping and everything like that. Absolutely.
Right, and they bought the books at full price.
Full price, yes.
Right, so they're not paying wholesale rates or cost rates for what the church actually pays to produce the books. They're paying full rate for the book.
Yep, there were no breaks given. Actually, interestingly enough, I remember that at the time, once we had worked out the package deal, we went from having nothing to suddenly the library campaign had money. It was really easy to get a lot of money because Bridge would give us the extra above and beyond what the package was. We had our own bank account, and I was depositing checks in there, and it was so it was like an easy boondoggle, basically. It seemed like it was a real easy way to make some extra money for stuff, for projects and stuff. So the
money just kind of sat there as a little slush fund for CMO.
Yeah, for that office. Yeah.
Huh.
Yeah.
Okay, well, so then what happened after all of this? So you were at CMO PAC.
So I was in CMO
Library
PAC.
Campaign, USA Today. Then what?
Which, by the way, while I was in CMO PAC, a couple of interesting things happened. There was a lot of gossip, right? And a lot of things would go down, and we would always get briefed on the juiciest of juicy details.
Really?
Yes, we would. We would get
okay. Now this I want to know about. So you guys were actually being told about the dirt on the base?
Yes, all the time.
At Musters?
At Musters, yes.
Okay.
Yep. I remember when the LRH comm for AOLA, the story went that there's a bunch of things that LRH comms are supposed to do, and there's like a checklist. And one of the things is that there's always flowers in the LRH office, right?
That's
Well,
right.
apparently that was one of the few things that she always did. And it turns out that I guess she was having an affair with the florist or something. So we get
Wait, what?
Yeah, the LRH comm, she was having an affair with the florist or something, I guess. So that's why she was home. But I mean, this is the type of stuff that we would get told at Musters, Oh, we got told, just ridiculous.
With the florist?
I know.
Carry on, please. What else?
Well, I think there was something to do with the flag rep masturbating at his desk, and they would tell us this at Musters. Most of us, again, underage girls as young as 12 years old, at these Musters, and we were being told gory details about the flag rep at AOLA masturbating at his desk. Isn't that
wow? So much for confidential. People talk about, confidential priest-pendant privilege, right? Mm-hmm. And, the Sea Org members, they go into session, they cough up their crap, or they write it down on their OW, their overt withhold write-ups, and it's supposed to go in their folder, and it's supposed to be sacrosanct. And there's been a lot of noise, correctly so, because this stuff gets publicly exposed when the church gets mad at people who leave Scientology. But this, I don't think this has ever really been talked about before. I don't recall any of this.
Oh.
Internally spilling the news to
all of CMO PAC. At Musters. It was pretty regular that we heard this stuff. So gossip was like all the time. And that was another thing that was done to reinforce that all of these other Sea Org members were just scum. They were just unethical, scumbags who,
So because this obviously says it's not just one or two people who find out about the dirt that people are giving up, on the base, or it's not just the person who's right above them who's finding out about it and having to discipline them for it, but this is now common knowledge within an entire organization of mostly young girls.
Yep.
And the guys who are being reported on, they don't have any idea that this whole group of people over here knows all about them.
No, they don't. And it just helps to have these, these mostly young people just look down on everybody else.
Right.
really
So
helped
there's an us versus them mentality going on within the group that's doing an us versus them on the whole world.
Yeah, definitely.